Hello, I'm Sahara and welcome to the 360 Alive Kitchen. In the kitchen today we're going to be creating raw Halloween delights. Yum! I've been playing around and I've come up with some spooky creations for you. On the menu we have witch's fingers and zombie embryos. They are way cool. My little girl last night gobbled down the witch's fingers and was like yum, 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 which is always a very good sign. So what do we need to do? There's two preparation steps before we actually get started. So the first one is you have the option to activate your seeds. We're going to be using seed meal in this recipe, and we're using pepita or pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds. So this is a nut-free raw creation. A lot of the creations out there in the raw land use nuts, and I try to give options with seeds because there's a rise of nut allergies, especially in kids out there. So it's awesome to have on your offer something that everyone can partake in. So activating, why would we want to do it? Activating actually allows us to access the maximal amount of nutrition that these seeds hold for us. Where you see they hold enzyme inhibitors and phytic acid, which protects them from germinating early and creating the next life in their species. So when we eat them unactivated, this stresses our digestion system and makes it hard for us to absorb their nutrients. It's a very easy process. It's just a time-orientated process. Sunflower seeds and pepita seeds, 7 to 10 hours soaking overnight, and then putting in your oven or your dehydrator for 12 to 24 hours until they're dried out. I've actually got my dehydrator going now because I was playing around yesterday and I've almost used up my whole stash of activated seeds. So last night before I went to bed, I put some on to soak, and when I got up in the morning, I rinsed them and put them in the dehydrator, and I will have more yummy seeds either this afternoon or tomorrow to play around with. So this is optional. Do you need to activate? No. Is it in your best interest long term to activate? Yes. And this is just a habit. I encourage you to try it out. It's time, it's not skill at all. And if you'd like more information on activating seeds and nuts, then click this link and it will take you to a lot more detail on that. Okay, so the second thing that we need to prepare beforehand is the chia seed jam. Now this is made from using berries and chia seeds. Really, really simple. So I've got 2 cups of frozen berries here, or you can use fresh berries. I've got a mixture of strawberries and raspberries. This is one that I made up beforehand, and it's just pure raspberries. And what we need to do is just blend them. So whatever blender you have, I have a Thermomix, so that's what I use. If you have a Vitamix, an Omni Blend, any other kind of blender out there, a food processor, an immersion stick, a bar mix, you can use it to make this recipe. It is simple. You just need something that blends. So step 1, we need to make our jam, and we need to make that ahead of time so that the chia seeds can swell up, because that's what they do so well. So what do? Put them in. So we just want to blend these down and make a paste out of them. So whoops. Make sure all your equipment is connected properly, and also make sure that you wash your hands before obviously doing anything in the kitchen. And in this Raw Delights, any Raw Delights, it's very hands-on. So, I get really messy, so I've got my apron on, and yeah, I'm like an artist in the kitchen. When I was at school, I used to paint, and my school uniforms would be covered in paint, and I loved it. I love the messiness, and that's just me. So don't be put off by that. I was creating some the other day, and they were freaking out at the mess. My kitchen when I'm not creating is spotless, but when I'm creating, it's a palette and there's a lot going on. So if you've got a clean kitchen, awesome. If you've got a messy kitchen, awesome. Don't be put off by any mess that I make. Okay, so turning this on, making sure we've got the lid on properly, and then just blending. And you can see it is just blending it all down into a beautiful medium to put the chia seeds in. So I'm just going to spatula that down. I love spatulas. They are awesome. And I'm just going to give it another blend. all you want to do is add your chia seeds in. And for 2 cups of frozen or 1 cup of fresh, it's 3 tablespoons of chia seeds. So I'm just getting my chia seeds here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, putting the lid back on. And I'm just putting this on a low setting now because I just want it to mix through. The one thing I don't like about the Thermomix is that I can't see, so if I'm peering in, it's just I'm looking down to see what's going on. Okay, that's done. Very cool. So then we want to put them in some kind of container to put them in the fridge to do their jam activating job. I use glass. I'm a big fan of glass. I'm not into plastic and all the chemicals that it holds and that can leach into our food. So I keep my glass jars and I have glass containers. So put this into a container. Just give it a little stir through. You'll be able to see. Okay, so if you can see in there, it's just mixed through, and then all we need to do is put this in the fridge and let it set. So you can do that like 3 hours beforehand, or best is overnight, to allow the chia seeds to really gel up and create the jam. And this jam we're using as decoration on the witch's fingers, and in the zombie embryos we're using it as a filling to put inside. So I'm going to fill up this jar and put it in my fridge to set, and I will be back shortly. Okay, let's get into some spooky creating. We have witch's fingers here. This one has a pepita seed for a nail, and this one here has a sunflower seed for a nail. And here are the zombie embryos. Looks like a bliss ball, doesn't it? But when you bite inside, it's not. It has a bloody inside. So let's get into creating these. I like to have everything ready in my kitchen because once it happens, it's quite a quick process. I've got 1.5 cups of my activated and non-activated seeds. I offer to you in these recipes the techniques to get the most nutrition out of your food. Do what works for you, and I encourage you to try these preparation techniques. It's just a time, it's a habit thing. Habit happens from doing it, and whether you do or don't do it, that's totally okay. It's your kitchen, and do what works for you. It's really, really important. I have soaking here in some warm filtered water that I've boiled up in the kettle, the raisins, 1 cup, and I have my cacao, my cinnamon, and my vanilla all ready to go. And I've also desiccated some coconut here for rolling the balls in and for decoration. So you might want to do that before you go any further. Just desiccate some coconut into a fine powder if you don't already have a fine powdered desiccated coconut. Okay, so this has been soaking for a little bit. You want to keep the water because you can use this water in making smoothies. So I am just going to drain that off. Let them drain while we make these beautiful seeds into a meal. Okay, lid on. Noise in the house, as I say to my daughter. Cover your ears. Lid mode always happens to me. Okay, I always like to just give a little zoom down the sides. Make sure that you're creating really nice fine meal in there. Give it another little zoom. And that is good to go. So you will see that it's created a really fine meal or powder or flour, and it's green because of the pepita pumpkin seeds. Okay, next you just want to put everything else in. So in go the raisins and the cacao. Depending on how chocolatey you like things, you can put 1 to 2 tablespoons in. You can taste the mix after it's all gone through, and if it's not chocolate enough, put some more in. We like cacao, raw cacao in this household. Sharing some raw chocolate delights with you. I'll do in another video, but that's something that my daughter and I love to make together, and she is a big fan of the raw chocolates, which I think is just awesome because I love sharing with her nutritious delights and food, and she's creating a foundation for that. So with kids, you know, it's really important we're setting them up with habits for a lifetime, and if we can actually give them food that is created with nutrition, because so much of the food out there isn't, then that creates a taste sensation for them too. And you know, with her, like at Easter time, she was like, I had some chocolate and she was like, oh, Mummy, your chocolate is much, much better. And I have these mummy yes moments of that, you know, what I'm doing is helping to create a foundation of health and well-being for her, not only for her body to thrive from, but from her taste buds and her mind and the way that she perceives the offering of food out in the environment. So next we want to put in a teaspoon of cinnamon. If you have nutmeg or cardamom, you can use them as well. I just have cinnamon in my house, so that's what I'm going to use. In that goes. And we want to put a teaspoon of vanilla powder or essence or paste in. So just make sure if it's the essence that it really is, because a lot of them can just be flavored and you don't want to be using the flavor. You want to be using the real deal. That's what this kitchen's all about. It's peace, love and keeping it real. And vanilla, you may think, but just check the ingredients. Okay, lost my little lid, there we go. And then it's as easy as that, zoom it back together. Again, I like just to give a little scrape down. That's looking really nice, we'll give that a bit more. Okay, that is looking good. So what you're looking for is a dough, basically. A dough that becomes pliable and that we can mold and make things out of. So let's get creating and let's shape out some spooky fingers, and I'm going to take you through the technique of making the zombie embryos, which is a little bit more technique orientated. Okay, so we'll just move these off. I've got a baking tray here with some baking paper on it to actually put all my little creations on that I can put into the fridge for them to set, and then I can plate them up and decorate them as I like. Okay, so in making the witch's fingers, we want to create a log. So getting a handful, squish it in your fingers. That might be a little bit too much. So about as much as fits in your fingers, and you actually want to roll it out. So it's just between the palms of my hands, and I am rolling. And just rolling, rounding up the edges there, rolling. You can even do it down here. Now you can make your fingers as thin as you like, as long as you like, as fat as you like, as short as you like. You might like to have little midget witch's fingers. Do what works for you. Like with the cacao, these are your creations to be eaten. So make them to what you like. So then we're going to squeeze into the middle to actually create a knuckle. And you can squeeze these bits out. You can elongate them, push them down, make them in, you know, bit wavy, however you actually want to make your witch's fingers. And then I found that my pinky fingernail works really well. I just indentate down to create the nail bed, because what we're going to use our chia seed jam for is to create a bloody nail bed. Okay, so I've found using the base of my spoon, you want a really small spoon for this, has been better than actually using the spoon. And just scoop a little bit in there, lay it down, and then grab a pepita seed, place it on top, and you have a witch's finger all ready to go on your tray, and you can get on to making the next one. So I'll just go through that again. Grab some, squeeze it. You want to make sure that it all sticks together, and then roll it between the palms of your hands, just rolling. You can put it down on your workbench and roll with your fingertips. You don't want to press too hard. Sort of the analogy I came up with, it's like working with clay. And so then pushing together to make your nobble, your knuckly, knobbly knuckle. See if I can get that one out. And then just moving it along. And using my pinky, indentating down. This is a bit of a fatter one. Then getting my chia seed, dobbing some in there to make a bloody nail bed. And this time I am going to use a sunflower seed, which gives quite a different look, quite a witch's fingers. And it probably works better on one that isn't so fat. Okay, so that is how we make our witch's fingers. Now onto zombie embryos. So the zombie embryos look like bliss balls. So it's the same idea. We're going to actually make a ball, but we need to make a cavity in the inside so we can put a filling in. So what I want you to do is grab about the amount that you would use for a ball. Maybe about that much. Just make sure that it's all sticking together. The oils will start to come out. Don't worry about these are good oils. And if your hands get really, really oily, you can just moisturize your skin and then wash your hands before continuing. You know, why wash this beautiful oil down the sink? This is what skincare is made up of, some of them out there with these gorgeous oils that come from our seeds. Okay, so give a little bit of a roll. Now what I want to do, so that could be a bliss ball and you could eat that then and there. But what I want to do is actually break it in half. So I have two halves. I'm going to put one half down and then I'm going to re-roll this one and then I'm going to squish it. So it's like I'm making a little flat pancake. And then I want to squish the sides out because this is just going to become our hat, our lid for our ball. Okay, so then I put that one down, grab the other half, roll it. And then, like maybe years ago, you might remember in clay that you would pinch down into clay to make baskets or little nests. So what I do is I just push my thumb down into it and I squish up around the sides of my thumb, making a little basket, a little nest, and inside this nest we're going to put the bloody chia seed jam. So when people bite into what they think is a bliss ball or a zombie embryo in this case, they get an incredible surprise. So you can see there, I now have a little basket or a little nest, which I can, using the other side of my spoon, spoon some chia seed jam in. Filling it up. Now this will be a bit of trial and error to how much works for you. And then I found just squishing it in really helps. So now I've squished it. Then I grab my lid. I'm going to put my lid over and then I just want to work the dough back into itself. So I'm actually just pushing down on it, making sure that I'm closing up the two sides. Pinching it in, so it really is working with clay. I couldn't find a better analogy. And then when you've actually got the sides all in, put it back in your hands and very gently just roll it into a ball. Now what I suggest, because your hands will get really oily, is that you do a batch of these before you actually roll them in some desiccated coconut. So once you've got a batch happening, because once you roll them, you'll need to go wash your hands. So instead of doing one and putting it in the coconut and then washing your hands and going through this process, do a batch and then roll them in the coconut. Now you don't have to roll them if you don't want to. You can leave them just brown, and that's what it is when they're rolled. And then they're all ready to go on your tray, go into your fridge and set, and then to be decorated up onto your spooky plate. And you have delicious, nutritious, simple and easy raw Halloween delights to make, to feed to your children, to your community, which is just fantastic. You know, Halloween is becoming ever popular in Australia where I live, and it seems to just be an excuse for a horrid candy fest. And when you look at what is in those ingredients of, you know, the convenient sweet food on the market in general, but especially, you know, when the Halloween stuff comes out and they've got the big packets and it's cheap, you just don't want to feed your kids that. And here is another option. You can make witches' fingers. you can make zombie embryos, and you can spook the kids out, spook the adults out, at the same time feeding them awesome nutrition that's going to feed their body, it's going to feed their mind, it's going to feed their heart, and create this amazing nutritious vessel for them to express themselves through. I get a little bit excited. It's a passion of mine. You know, sweet food is something that a lot of us crave for different reasons, and the food on the market is just not good for you, and we can, with some time, make beautiful, nutritious, delicious food that is quite simple and easy to make. The most amount of time that went into this creation was activating the seeds, and that's a time thing. I didn't have to do anything. I put my seeds to soak on overnight, and in the morning I put them in the dehydrator to dry out. That's it. I don't need to do anything else. You can use an oven for dehydrating your seeds as well, so don't freak out if you don't have a dehydrator. So that's it. That's raw Halloween delights. I hope that this is easy and simple for you to make. If it's not, shoot me some questions and I'll problem solve with you, and that you find it nutritious and delicious, and that your kids and your community gobble them all up with spooky delight. So signing out from Oz, peace, love, and keeping it real. Ciao.